I appreciate you joining me today. We're going to be looking in Second Corinthians at the account where it speaks about the Corinthians were going to be sending a gift for the Judean saints. Our hymn today is called Heaven's Jubilee.
Look that morning we shall see Jesus in the air, coming after you and me, coming back to share. What rejoicing there will be when the saints arrive. Any forest Jubilee under in the sky. Oh, what singing, singing, oh, what shouting, shouting, on that happy morning when we all shall rise. Oh, what glory, glory, hallelujah, glory, when we meet our blessed Savior in the sky.
Okay, let's look at our passage now. We're in Second Corinthians chapter 8. And as I said, we're thinking about the gift that they were going to be sending to the Judean saints. And the reason that I chose Heaven's Jubilee, if you're familiar in the Old Testament with what the year of Jubilee was, and that was when all debts would be forgiven. That is when slaves would be released. And it was a time of such rejoicing and such generosity. And so I believe the Lord refers, perhaps not in name, but to the occasion when he's in Nazareth and he reads from the book of Isaiah, if I remember correctly. But it was just a wonderful time. So I was thinking about that in the context of this gift. And with that, let's look at our passage now. In 2 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 1, Moreover, brethren, we make known to you the grace of God bestowed on the churches of Macedonia, that in a great trial of affliction the abundance of their joy and their deep poverty abounded in the riches of their liberality. For I bear witness that according to their ability, yes, and beyond their ability, they were freely willing, as other churches were wanting to help with this need. And so in verse 6 he says, We urge Titus that as he had begun, so he would also complete this grace in you as well. But as you abound in everything, in faith, in speech, and in knowledge, and in all diligence, and in your love for us, see that you abound in this grace also. He says, I'm not speaking by commandment, but I'm testing the sincerity of your love by the diligence of others. And so let's include that concept as well, the sincerity of their love. And so you just think about the technical word, jubilee, jubilation, the rejoicing, the comfort that this was going to bring. And they were to be gracious. They were to be graceful. And I understand the hymn is pointing towards the resurrection. The hymn is pointing towards heaven itself. But at the same time, you have this little taste of heaven here on earth, as you have the Lord's people and the Lord's church doing the work that the Lord has for it. Now to read on, goes on, because there's a chapter or two about this, here in Corinthians. The issue was they had been planning on doing it, but they hadn't done it yet. That's verse 11. So there may also be a completion out of what you have. But he goes on, speaking more about it, and we're just keying on 2 or 3 aspects of it. And so concerning this gift, verse 6, he says, But this I say, he who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and he who sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. Again, you might think about the Jubilee and how bountiful it was. And we think about giving for the work of the church, for the spreading of the gospel, but also benevolence. This was an issue with benevolence. And it was called a grace. It was grace, it was love, and it was bountiful. It was bountifully done. And it's just a lovely picture. The next verse I have highlighted is there in verse 7. So let each one give as he purposes in his heart, not grudgingly or of necessity, for God loves a cheerful giver. Cheerfulness, cheerfully, bountifully, gracefully, lovingly. You know, do you think, and it wouldn't surprise me in the Old Testament, when it came time for the year of Jubilee, there were probably, just given Israel's history, there were probably those who did not look forward to that. There were probably masters who did not look forward to that time. There were probably lenders, those who had lent, who did not look forward to that time. But for those who were on the other side of the coin, so to speak, they looked forward to that time. And surely there were those who had lent, and those who had servants. And if they were faithful, they looked forward to that time too. I was just thinking, given their history, there were probably some who didn't, but it was a wonderful time, and a wonderful foreshadowing of the blessings found in the Lord. When debts are canceled, when slaves are set free, these are the blessings we see in Jesus. And so we rejoice. And we have just a little taste of heaven here on earth. You know, Paul in Philippians talk about to the degree and talking about our salvation. And he says he presses on. But he says in Philippians chapter 3, nevertheless, to the degree that we have already attained. And it's just a little taste of heaven, a little taste of things to come. Heaven's Jubilee. Appreciate you. Hope you have a good day. Join us tomorrow for another portion of our Daily Praise.